122, difference between static and dynamic memory allocation. So let's look at it. Difference between static and dynamic memory allocation. So in the previous video we have learned about the free function that is used in the dynamic memory allocation. Now in this video we are going to learn about the difference between static and dynamic memory allocation. So let's look at it. Difference between static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation in C. So here the difference is, I am just denoting it, I am just elaborating it. So static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation. Memory has been, we can say memory allocation has been divided into two parts, that is the static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation. So in static memory allocation, memory is allocated while writing the C program. Actually user requested memory will be allocated at the compile time. So here if we take the example of array, we request the compiler to allocate such kind of memory. What in the case of a dynamic memory allocation, memory is allocated while executing the program. That means at the runtime. So in the runtime, dynamically memory is going to be allocated. What in the compile time, static memory is going to be allocated. So this is the difference between in the runtime, dynamic memory allocation is going to be executing, and in the compile time, we request the compiler to allocate such kind of memory into the space, and that is known as the static memory allocation. What during the execution of the program we allocate the memory at the runtime is known as the dynamic memory allocation. So memory size can't be modified while execution, and that is in the static memory allocation. We can see the example array. So whatever you have created an array, if you create an array, you have to specify the size of it, and that is the main demerit, we can say, of the static memory allocation, that memory size can't be modified later on during the execution. What in the dynamic memory allocation, memory size can be modified while execution, and you can see the example of linked list. In linked list, or we can say the dynamic memory allocation, you can modify the size also while execution. So this is the difference we can say about the static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation. That is, static memory allocation work at the compile time. It means you have to specify, you have to request for the memory to the compiler that I want such kind of memory in the RAM. So this is the static memory allocation. What in dynamic memory allocation, you just create your own memory during the execution of the program at the runtime, and that is the benefit of the dynamic memory allocation. And the example is clear. In static memory allocation there is an array, there is a concept of array, and dynamic memory allocation there is a concept of linked list. So this was all about the difference between the static memory and dynamic memory allocation in C language. So thanks for watching. Dhanyavad.